Hi, today's video is going to be on the law of cosine. So this is going to be completely different than what we've been doing so far. So if you want to solve for missing parts of a triangle, but you don't have right triangles. So everything we've done for the last 15 days or so has all been based on having a right angle. Pythagorean theorem, you need a right angle. Sine, cosine, tangent, you need a right angle. Special rights, you need a right angle. So the law of cosines is coming into play when you don't have a right angle. We have so many other kinds of triangles. We have acute triangles. We have obtuse triangles. Right triangles are only one small little bit of the actual triangle world. So if you don't have a right triangle, you can't use all those fancy things. But we do have two different laws, the law of sines and the law of cosines. Today we're looking at the law of cosines. You're going to use the law of cosines if you have side angle side or side side side. Now you remember we have our triangle congruency chapter last semester, and we know that this means that we have an angled trap between the two given sides. This tells me that I have all three sides provided to me. So anytime you have those situations, you're going to use the law of cosines. Now get ready, the law of cosines is pretty intense here. So the law of cosines is a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cosine of angle A. So we have big A's, we have little a's. What are those a's meaning? So if we have a triangle, again, not a right triangle, we use capital letters, if you remember, for angle measures. If this is angle A, across from opposite angle A is side A. Across from angle B is side B, across from angle C is side C. So when you see lowercase letters, that's referencing the side lengths. Uppercase letters are representing the angle measures. Now, this is only one of the variations. We have angle A, angle B, angle C. So you could also just tweak this equation a little bit. Instead of being b squared, or a squared, we could do b squared equals a squared plus c squared minus 2ac cosine of b. Or we could do c squared equals a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cosine of c. Now the equations are all different, but they're very similar. Let's look at some patterns here. So if I have it set equal to a squared, that means I'm using the cosine of angle A. So whatever I have on the outside is the angle that I'm taking the cosine of. So we see b squared, we see b. We see c squared, we see c. So whatever we have it set equal to squared, side squared, is the angle that we're taking the cosine of. There are three sides to your triangle, A, B, C. So if I have a squared here, I'm using the other two sides here. So since I used A, this is B and C. Since I used B, this is A and C. Since I used C, this is A and B. After we do that, it's minus 2. So if we use B and C here, we use B and C there. If we use A and C, A and C. A and B, A and B. Make sure you have your calculators out. This is crazy to enter into your calculator, so you need to make sure that you are following along in your calculator. Very, very, very important. All right, so let's look at the only example that we're doing today. As we go to solve this triangle, we're going to start by just drawing a generic triangle. We're going to draw this generic triangle every single time. We don't have any idea what this triangle is looking like. We just need to draw a picture. And then we label our A, B, C wherever we want. A triangle has 6 pieces of information. So when the directions say solve the triangle, that means we're finding all of the missing information. In a triangle, we have 3 sides. Side A, side B, and side C. And we have 3 angles, angle A, angle B, and angle C. Every single time you do one of these problems, you are going to draw a picture and you're going to set up this 6 pieces of information. We're going to fill in what we know. We are given that side A is equal to 17. We are given side B is 28, and angle C is 114, which means I am solving for angle A, angle B, and side C. I'm going to do this setup every single time. I'm going to make sure that I label. So here's angle A. I go across from angle A. Side A is 17. Across from angle B, side B is 28. And angle C is 114. When we look at this setup, here is a side, here is an angle, here is a side. So this is side, angle, side. Remember, law of cosines is side, angle, side, or side, side, side. So as we have this set up, I'm trying to figure out which of those three variations am I going to use from above. I have angle C, which means the only equation I can use right now is the C squared equals A squared plus B squared minus 2AB cosine of angle C. And we're going to fill in everything we know. So we don't know C squared yet. We do have A squared is 17. We have B squared is 28 minus 2 times 17, which is A, times B, which is 28, cosine of angle C, which is 114. Now, when I look at this, you may think that looks crazy, that looks intense. This is actually the easiest a cosine problem can ever get, because I have no variable, no variable, no variable, no variable, no variable, no variable, no variable. The only variable I have here is C squared. I know it doesn't look like it, but this is actually going to be a really easy question. So we're going to have our calculators out. Let's just move this over a little bit. And since this is my only variable, it's equal to all this number. I can calculate this whole thing and I don't have to do any work for it. I can just plug it in. 17 squared plus 28 squared minus, make sure you use the minus, not the negative sign, 2 times 17 times 28 times the cosine of 114. Make sure that your calculator is in degree mode. That is really important. So when I look here, no variable, so I can put that all in at once. We hit enter. Now I'm going to write this down on my paper. C squared is equal to 1,460.213284, etc. I'm writing that down, but make note, we are not rounding. Don't round. We are never going to round to the last step, and that's where things can get complicated when it's not such an easy setup. The calculator has this value stored in it, so I'm not going to retype anything in. To solve for C, I need to take the square root of both sides. So I'm going to go square root, which is second x squared, and I'm going to put that answer in there. I'm not going to type it in. I want that stored answer. So if you look at the bottom, right next to enter, and then above the negative sign is answer, ANS. So to get there, I hit second negative. I'm taking the square root of that last answer. That is going to have all of those stored decimals. I hit enter, and I get that my side C is going to be about 38.212. I'm going to round to the nearest tenth, so get 38.2. So we're going to go back over here to the rest of our triangle, and I now have that our side C is 38.2. So we found one of our missing values. Now we need to solve for either angle A or angle B. It does not matter which one you choose. It could be either or. I'm just going to go with A because it comes first. So if I'm solving for angle A, I need to use the A equation. A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cosine of angle A. So the A we have 17 squared equals 28 squared. Now we have to use this rounded value of 38.2 squared minus 2 times B, which is 28, times C, which is 38.2, times the cosine of A. Now, this one's much more difficult because our variable that we're solving for, our angle A, is way over here. We need to get that calculator back out. So in our calculator, we're going to do 17 squared, which is going to give us 289. We're going to do 28 squared, which is 784. We're going to do 38.2 squared, which is going to give us 1,459.24. Now we want to be careful. This whole thing is stuck together. We can't separate the 2, the 28, the 38.2. We can't move that away from the cosine of A. These are all being multiplied together. If they are being added, then we can move those pieces, but this is one piece stuck together. So I had to do 2 times 28 times 38.2. Multiplying all those pieces together to get minus 2,139.2 times the cosine of A. From here, these are like terms, so I can go ahead and add 784 plus 1,459.24 together. And when I add those together, I get 2,243.24. Now we have to start working on solving for this angle A. To solve for this angle A, I need to isolate this term, which means I need to move this number over. So to move it over, we subtract. So we've got 289 minus 2,243.24. And that gives us a negative 1,954.24 equals a negative 2139.2 times the cosine of A. So now that I have this whole term isolated, I'm going to divide, because it's this times the cosine of A, I'm going to divide. And you see that things are getting messy. I'm not going to go to my calculator yet and clean this up, because we can just make mistakes, or we don't want to make mistakes. So we're just going to leave our numbers as is. When I divide, that cancels. So now I'm left with the cosine of angle A is equal to, well, a negative divided by negative. You can keep that if you want, because your calculator is going to take care of it. If you're worried about dropping something or not knowing if it simplifies or not, just leave it as is. I want to solve for angle A. Remember, anytime you're solving for angles, we have to use inverse trig. So you're going to hit second cosine of that entire value. Again, you can cancel those negatives if you want to, because you know a negative divided by negative is a positive. Otherwise, you can let your calculator do all the work. So second cosine, a negative 1,954.24 divided by a negative 2,139.2. We hit enter. Our angle A we see is 24.001. So if I'm rounding to the nearest degree, we have that angle A is going to be about 24 degrees. So you can see how that one was much harder than the first piece. We're going to go ahead and fill that in. We have that angle A is 24 degrees. We only have one piece of information missing though, and this one is crazy easy. We have a triangle. In a triangle, we know all three angles have to add up to 180. So as soon as you get two of your three angles, for our missing angle B, we just do 180 minus 24 degrees, which we just found, minus the 114 that we were given, and we can find that our missing angle B is going to be 42 degrees. and now we have finished solving for our triangle. We need to have 3 sides, 3 angles. You will be always missing 3 pieces, some kind of combination of angles and sides. All right, I know that wasn't intense. I know there was a lot of work. You may have to rewatch this video a couple times to get ready for your assessment, but it will be fine, and we are all done.